Hello and welcome to today's reflection. Today we are going to look at the start of Luke chapter 2, which is some of the opening words for our Christmas narrative. And I've chosen these ones because it kind of shows that despite all the plans and the preparations, sometimes things come along which just surprise us and maybe are not things that are convenient to us or how we would have hoped, but that nonetheless they are what happened. And it's the story of Mary and Joseph having to travel to Bethlehem in order to register, because the emperor had decided that he wanted to call a census and to count all the people, and therefore everyone had to go back to their hometowns. And sometimes life is like that. Sometimes we end up doing things that we hadn't planned for or hoped for, or it's things that are least convenient for us. And I think maybe our Christmas this year might be a case in point where it's not exactly what we planned and it wasn't exactly what we hoped for, but it is what is happening. So we need to embrace it and see what happens next. And I also it draws parallels a little bit with all the poor lorry drivers who are stuck down at Dover and also at the other side of the channel, who are just waiting for something to happen, for decisions to be made that are out of their control, but they are having to be patient and wait and see what happens next. So I'm going to read to you the start of Luke chapter 2. In those days a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David, called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. And I guess it's just a timely reminder that things perhaps don't always go to plan and not always exactly as we hope they would be, but that we need to embrace whatever comes along and try to see what God is doing in that situation and what God is trying to show us, and to remind ourselves that He is always there alongside us. It doesn't matter where we go or who we're with, that He is there with us, that we have a God who is alongside us and whose steadfast love remains constant throughout all. So perhaps we're facing maybe uncertain Christmases or uncertainty full stop as to what might happen next and where we might go or what we might do or what might happen. But we need to hold on to the fact that we need to be obedient and that God is there with us whatever happens. And just pray that we too will be able to cope and be able to adapt, much like Mary and Joseph had to adapt with delivering a baby in a stable and having to use a manger as a crib. None of which I imagine would be their first choice. But nonetheless, that's the story that we have come to know and to love, and just pray that God will speak to us afresh perhaps this Christmas as we hear the familiar story once more. Amen.